This is the perfect situation for us to be in a week 2 because we're going to find out what this team is made of early in the season as we're in these tough games. And today, I saw the most resilient team I've ever seen. There was no ounce of panic in this dude's eyes. It was just confidence. As I've worked for this moment, I'm ready to lead this team. And when it mattered most, 4th downs, be damned, he doesn't care, man. He just let us down the field. Quarterback sneak to finish it off. That's it.
Who they think gon' beat them Bengals? Who they think gon' beat them Bengals? No!
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Happy Monday. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Connor Rogers, Matthew Berry, and Jay Croucher. That sound you heard at the top was a very excited, at least for the short-term, Bengals locker room, Matthew, because, oh, man, that's overall a really tough day for this organization.
Very tough day. And a game, and candidly, they should have lost. I mean,
yes.
Which we'll get into in a second.
They're playing the Jags. Yeah, should you ever lose when you're playing
find
the
ways
Jags?
to lose.
Jaguars are going to Jaguar. But I will just say, listen, we all love Joe Burrow here. Awful to see. He's going to miss 3 months. News came out.
At least.
Adam Schefter and others reporting turf toe, looks bad. But he's going to need surgery, I guess, at least 3 months, right? It's for all intents and purposes, he is lost for the fantasy football season and for the majority of the Bengals season, Jay.
Can we please get Joe Burrow an offensive line in the offseason? He does do this every year.
It's Andrew Luck level stuff at this point, I think.
It's every single year. He's never had a good offensive line in the NFL. He's always fighting for his life. Just take a left tackle. Just get an offensive line for next year.
They have drafted plenty.
Yeah.
It's just
dropped a good one.
There's always holes, and he's a guy that sometimes he'll hold the ball and try to maneuver the pocket. Like some of those yesterday was him trying to create something. That's his greatness. Yeah, right. But his greatness, Matthew, also leads him into trouble.
Yeah, I mean, and it's weird because the actual play, I mean, he gets tackled around the ankles, but it didn't look bad in the moment.
Just awkward, I think.
Just awkward. But yeah, I mean, we talked about this in the preseason. Like, we jokingly said, like, Joe Burrow's going to get killed behind this offensive line, and yet he sort of does, right? I mean, like, he's been under pressure each of the first, game and a half, however long he was there. Either way, Joe Burrow drinks for free today here at the Happy Hour bar. Joe, we love you, and we hope for a speedy and healthy recovery.
And for the Bengals, in what was a high-scoring game, they were not slowed down too much by Jake Browning coming into this game, guys. I mean, you look at him going 21 of 32 for over 240 yards. He does throw a couple picks, but he throws 2 touchdowns through the air. As you see the scoring in this game, monster day for Jamar Chase, but that didn't stop T. Higgins from getting his as well. We got to hear from Zach Taylor on just the confidence now with this offense belonging to Jake Browning.
It's never been too big for him. He's always known that he's ready. He just wanted an opportunity. That's all he wants. And I think he comes in the building every day knowing something like this can happen today. And his career, I don't think it's this extreme, but could end if you're not prepared and you walk out there and you have a really bad performance and everybody sees that tape and they say, okay, that's enough of that. And so I think as a backup quarterback, he lives that life. He knows I got to be prepared. Could be at any moment, could be down a touchdown, and I got to lead this team back to win. And we've had that confidence every step of the way with Jake. He's proven that for us time and time again. He's fully capable to go out there and lead it. And we're fortunate we got the best quarterback in the world leading the charge. And we're also very happy we got Jake as the backup.
This is from Adam Schefter. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow will need the toe surgery that will sideline him a minimum of 3 months. Once again, that recovery timeline of 3 months is the more optimistic side. This is not typically a surgery that you see with quarterbacks very often. Hopefully Joe Burrow, though, does meet that timeline. I think in the short term, though, Matthew, there's just no way around it. We got to discuss the trickle effect on the rest of this offense that has so many vital fantasy talents.
For sure. It's not that we want to make light of the injury. It's a serious injury. But the fact of the matter is we are a fantasy football show. We're going to talk about the fantasy football implications of an injury to a guy that was drafted universally as a top 5 fantasy quarterback this year, and to your point, has elite playmakers around him, 2 top 10 wide receivers and a top 10 running back. So let's first talk about Jake Browning here. So he played a number of games back in 2023 when he replaced Joe Burrow, and he was fine.
Yeah.
Like he was absolutely fine. He averaged over 260 passing yards per game, 12 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That sounds about right. He also had 3 one-yard rushing touchdowns during that phase, so he averaged over 19 fantasy points per game in those 7 starts. But again, like all of what I just said we sort of saw play out against the Jaguars when he came in. He threw a couple of bad picks. He did get a 1-yard touchdown plunge. He ultimately threw for a lot of yards. Like, the fact is that all the reasons we like Joe Burrow beyond just his exceptional talent are there for Jake Browning. It's a bad defense. It's a pass-first offense. And, oh, by the way, he's getting to throw to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and he's got Chase Brown out of the backfield. None of those things change.
Yeah, I think the pass-first offense is the interesting thing where, so the past 3 years, the Bengals, in terms of pass rate over expectation, they've ranked first, second, and second. So they throw pretty much more than anyone else along with Kansas City, with Patrick Mahomes. Thing is that when Jake Browning came in 2023, they still threw a ton.
Yeah.
They threw a ton over expectation. Wasn't as much, but this is still an offense that's going to throw. I also think it's interesting, Connor, this offense, it's not predicated on like Joe Burrow like taking deep shots or lasering, but like it's a lot of short stuff. It's always a low average depth of target. And so Browning is going to be a lot worse than Joe Burrow, but he'll still be able to replicate a lot of the aspects of the offense.
This is the classic case of they have a backup that what he does best is what the starter does best. Now, he's nowhere near Joe Burrow. Nobody's saying that. But they are typically somewhat physically limited guys that rely on accuracy and making the right decisions, but also being willing. And Browning made some bad ones yesterday in a tough spot, but he also made some good decisions. So when you look at it, he's been in this offense a couple of years now where he understands how to operate on a high enough level that it doesn't sink everybody. But I think, yeah, it goes back to what Jay said and what you said, Matthew. Like, the fact that they're just willing to throw the ball with him is a really positive sign.
Yeah, and I wouldn't take too much out of his performance yesterday just from this sense. Like, typically backup quarterbacks get 5 passes of practice. Like, they don't get a ton of reps. Now, this upcoming week, Jake Browning is going to get every single rep in practice, right? He's going to go into the week knowing, hey, I'm the starter, and Zach Taylor, in theory, is going to design a game plan that, accentuates what Jake Browning does well and probably scales back on some of the stuff that maybe Joe Burrow could do, but Jake Browning just isn't there, right? And so there's a difference between, hey, oh, crap, get in there, grab your helmet and get in there, versus, okay, we've got a whole week to prepare knowing that you are the guy, that you are taking the first snap as well. So I think he's a viable fantasy fill-in. The one things I want to say, Ashley Morris asking on YouTube, blow the fab budget on Browning in Superflex leagues. That I wouldn't do, depending on, well, I guess I suppose it depends on what else you have, what else is out there. But certainly, as long as Jake Browning is healthy, he's going to be the starting quarterback on a fantasy-friendly offense. Like, I mean, it just depends what you have, but I don't know that I'm blowing the budget. But yes, if you just lost Joe Burrow and there's nothing much out there, then I would be aggressive with Jake Browning. Very quickly, while the question is coming up, here are some quarterbacks that are available in over 50% of leagues. Again, assuming you're in a 1-quarterback league: Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Tua Tagovailoa. And I think that's kind of the order. We'll dive into more of this tomorrow on our waiver show, but that sounds like the order. I mean, I might flip Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence, but I mean, I think those are the two guys you want, and then Geno, and then you got Tua.
Regular Rudy? Is it time to sell Chase Brown? That seems like a very dangerous reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the production from all the players that we care about on the Bengals, Chase, Higgins, and Brown, are going to be lowered. This offense isn't going to be as good with Jake Browning as it was with Joe Burrow. You think about the 2023 games. Jamar Chase averaged 12.2 fantasy points per game in 6 games with Browning in 2023. T. Higgins averaged 13.2 fantasy points per game in Browning's 7 starts in 2023. They both had a sub 15% target share. Now, Browning's a little bit more experienced in this offense. Those guys are a little bit more established. But I think that if I were, quote, re-ranking for the rest of the season, I would probably have Chase, as opposed to the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy, probably a low-end wide receiver 1.
Yep.
And Higgins goes from a borderline wide receiver 1-2 to a lower-end wide receiver 2. But I think you're probably better off hanging on to them as opposed to selling them at a discount, which is what you're going to do. No one is going to give you full price or anywhere close to full price until we see sort of a Jake Browning offense. And I'm telling you that I think, will they be as good as they were with Joe Burrow? No. Will they be competent and usable and still the guys you want to start week in, week out? Yes.
Yeah, I think Chase Brown, his his viability going forward maybe fluctuates the least of the three guys because one, yeah, they're still going to pass a lot, but they're going to pass less. They're going to run the ball more with Chase Brown there. I think there's going to be more dump-offs and screen passes to Chase Brown than there previously were. And then also, what the Bengals do, they throw in the red zone at one of the highest rates in the league. Now I think that they'll run the ball when they get in close a little bit more when you've got Chase Brown. So not too worried about Chase Brown. Touchdown equity will go down because they're not going to be in scoring position as much, but he should still be a very viable starter.
Connor, the only other concern I have here, look at their
I was
schedule.
just going to say, going back to that question about spending on Jake Browning, be wary of this. At Minnesota, at Denver, Detroit, which bounced back in a big way yesterday. They looked a little pissed about how they were perceived after week 1. And then at Green Bay, which who the hell on this team is blocking Micah Parsons?
Well, exactly right. So, I mean, I would argue, so the next 4 games, 3 are on the road, and I would argue at Minnesota, at Denver, at Green Bay, those are two of the 3 best defenses in the NFL, and Minnesota's probably a top 10 defense with Brian Flores.
I mean, there's worlds where those could be the 4 best defenses in football. Like, it's not absolutely insane that could be the case.
Yeah,
like, that's how.
And Detroit is, Detroit's
got a good defense.
Detroit's got a solid defense as well. So it's going to be baptism by fire for Jake Browning and this Bengals offense immediately. It's good that they won this game because the road gets tougher here. But ultimately, that's why I'm saying, like, I mean. Here's my only question to you guys then. Do you agree or disagree with me that as you sit here and look at this upcoming schedule, because I'm basically saying I'd hold lower expectations, but I'd hold my Bengals skill players. But if somebody's willing to offer you second round, a wide receiver 2 value for Chase or Higgins, are you taking it given this upcoming schedule?
I would never move Chase. I just think he's in the Justin Jefferson category of like Nick Mullins could be out there and it doesn't matter.
Quarterback
I think Higgins is a fascinating conversation because Higgins is a guy that it feels like you like him getting shots down the field. And I'm not saying Browning can't throw down the field, but I think he's the one that gets hurt the most here.
Who'd you rather have, Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Jamar Chase.
I'd rather have the Sun God, but that's just me.
I think it's Jamar Chase.
It's just like Chase did not have good production with Browning the last time around.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty. So that would be my concern.
He did, but in this particular game, 35% target share. He finishes the game with 10 for 128. Like, so, I don't know. Both players are a little bit older at this point, right? More experience in this offense. Well, who else is he going to throw to? Andre Yoshevich? Come on.
Just turn up Gesicki.
Yeah, exactly.
He might throw to them.
Mitchell Tinsley.
Yes.
I mean, exactly. Tinsley.
That's a serious one. He might actually throw to Tinsley.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.